Hello guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Ari, and hopefully you'll stick around for a video. Okay guys, so today I wanted to start a series. It's going to be at least 3, maybe 4 parts, where I just talked a little bit about my life prior to transition and post-transition, and gave you guys the opportunity to see what one trans girl's story was like, and then if you're a subscriber, to also give you the opportunity to kind of know me a little bit better. So if you didn't know, I started my transition in mid-May of 2017, and then about a month to 2 months later, I began hormone replacement therapy. Well, that was at the end of July. So I was 34 years old when I began my transition. So I spent a good number of years being very firmly in the closet. So let me talk a little bit about my background and my family, and I am going to go through notes because I wanted to keep things as in order, and I get sidetracked. So I was born into a working class family in a small mountain town in southwestern Virginia. At the time, I was the only child and the only grandchild for my mother's side of the family. At the time, it was a really young family, so I was raised around my grandparents and my great-grandparents and aunts and uncles and great-aunts and great-uncles. You know, we had a really large extended family at that time. When I was born, my parents decided that they wanted to give their young family a faith foundation. So they joined a local Pentecostal church. If you don't know a whole lot about what the Pentecostal faith is, you're free to look it up. But basically, it's a very vibrant form of worship within the Christian sect. So my parents weren't the type to just sit on a seat on Sundays and Wednesdays. They wanted to be actively involved. So both my mother and my father became children's ministers. My mother led the program at our local church. She instituted the very first vacation Bible school at the church. So for most of my young life, church was kind of a central theme. We never missed a service, ever. We attended every church event, and we even went on vacation either with church groups or with friends that we had made through church. So even before I could actually read, I would go to sleep each night listening to the Bible on cassette tape. I remember being different from the other boys that were either in school or at church or etc. from a pretty early age. You know, most of them were interested in roughhousing and getting dirty. But I was the kid who wanted to change my clothes the moment I got a spot of dirt on them, and I was pretty insistent about that. You know, while most of the boys were interested in the latest G.I. Joe or sports, I had a pretty extensive Barbie collection, and about the edgiest I got was my She-Ra collection. I even liked having my hair longer, although not quite as long as it is with my extensions. I had a bad habit as a child, and I still kind of do, of I would sit and twirl my hair all the time. I loved playing dress up in my grandmother's heels or with her jewelry. And I was definitely a more emotional, shy, and quiet kid than most of the boys that we were around. I naturally gravitated towards what would be considered girl things. And even my friends as a child were almost exclusively other little girls. My parents had my hair cut while I was sleeping before I went into elementary school. And I still remember crying when I saw it for the first time and telling them that I'm not pretty anymore. I was always uncomfortable in the gender segregated health classes when I was in elementary school, the family life classes. And of course, that led me to be tossed in with the boys' group. The other boys would laugh and giggle when the teacher would use the anatomical terms. But for me, even hearing that word in any way applied to me and my body made me really uncomfortable. They'd talk about the onset of puberty and changes to the body. You know, the boys were excited for things like facial and chest hair. I was, on the other hand, mortified by the concept, by the idea of it. Thankfully, chest hair turned out to not be a problem for me, so it wasn't something I really needed to worry about. But even then, I knew that I identified more with the girls, but I didn't know what that actually meant. I had no concept of it. I'd never even heard the word transgender, and I really didn't have any sort of language at that time to describe what I was feeling. Being in any way, shape, or form gender variant wasn't really on the radar in that time frame of the late 80s. And in the process of that, I certainly never said anything to my parents about it. Blending in was pretty hard for me. I wasn't interested in the TV shows, the activities, or the sports like most of the boys were. I was always the outcast with a very small group of all-girl friends. The guys just saw some boy who presented as more feminine, so that during that time frame was read as gay. And that meant constant taunting and bullying. Being called things like fag and faggot were just, frankly, an everyday part of my life. A lot of times, even the girls where I felt most comfortable would ask if I was gay. I really wasn't sure at that point, and even if I had been, with the taunting that I was already receiving and all the bullying, there was no way in hell I would have told them. Gym class was hell for me from really middle school through high school. The locker room was a place where I really had to kind of lay low, not speak or make any eye contact. You know, if I did, then the taunting and the bullying would start. Most of the time, even keeping to myself didn't work. Just a lift of the head, just looking up, and I would be met with, what are you looking at, faggot? Things like that had become regular. Changing out was also a huge problem for me. I really just didn't feel like I belonged in there with the boys. So having to openly, change clothes, dress and undress was just mortifying for me. I'd either wear my gym clothes under my regular clothes, try to hide behind a locker and change out, wait until the other boys started to file out and then change, which ended up making me late for gym class, or just refuse to change out altogether. All of that got me in trouble on a pretty regular basis. By the time I got into high school, I just flat out refused to do it. My parents went through a very messy and emotional divorce during that time period. I had no damn clue who I was. I was daily taunted and bullied. Everyone seemed to be paired up 2 by 2, except for me. I realized I was attracted to guys, and that scared the hell out of me. And I was in full on rebellion mode and felt completely and totally lost. By the time high school was over, my emotional and mental health were definitely on a decline. I just wanted to get away. So, myself and a small group of friends decided we'd move from Virginia to Columbus, Ohio, to assert our independence. About a month or two after the end of the school year, we left, we packed up, and we moved and started over. Okay, so that's going to be it for part one of the series. I'll talk a little bit about my life after high school in the next series, in the next installment of the series in part two. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it helps you to understand a little bit of where I'm coming from. You know, I'm trying to give an overview. Obviously, I'm not hitting every single detail because these videos would be excruciatingly long, even longer than they're already going to be. But I wanted you guys to get a view of what it can be like as a trans, as a trans person growing up, as a trans child and teenager, and trying to discover who you are and the struggle to do it, especially when you come from one of those very conservative Southern backgrounds. And it definitely was a challenge for me, and we'll go more into that in part two. If you're enjoying the series, if you want to see more, don't forget to click subscribe and the little bell so that it'll notify you when you get when I post new videos. Also, why don't you leave comments? Leave comments, let me know what you liked, what you'd like to see more of. If you have video ideas and things you'd like to see me do, I'm very interested in hearing what you think. Aside from all that, I will end with my quote from Kesha. Don't let the bastards get you down. Be yourself. Be proud of your history. Be proud of who you are. It may be a long journey to get there. Maybe you came out and discovered who you were as a teen. Maybe it took you 50 years. But be proud of it. You made it. You made it there. You were able to have that moment of honesty and accepting who you are. And you deserve to have a little bit of pride in yourself for that. I guess that is pretty much it. Until the next video, at least. So, lots of love, guys, and bye-bye.